Hi, thanks for joining me today. We're going to be stamping with bleach. So you're going to take a couple of napkins and put them in a plastic container. This is a disposable container, just regular household bleach. Go ahead and pour that bleach into the container enough to get those napkins nice and wet. This will be your stamp pad. So now I'm going to take this Fred B. Mullet stamp. It's a maidenhair fern stamp. And I'm going to use it to create my first layer with this image. So on this cardstock, you're going to take the stamp and use that bleach like it's a stamp pad. And you're just going to stamp it directly onto the cardstock. You don't want it too wet, but you want it wet enough so that it shows. And repeat all the way around the whole piece of cardstock. You can see that I've got this nice and wet on the back of the stamp. I like this finely detailed stamp for this because it will be detailed on top but not on the bottom layer. Always stamp off the page a little bit, makes it more interesting. So now you can see there it's starting to lighten up. You never know what color it's going to turn at this point. And we'll have to wait until it dries before we can do the next step. Cover up the bleach because those fumes get strong. So now you can see that it's lightened up quite a bit. This has just been a couple of minutes of time. So while we're waiting for it to dry, take the Sizzlit's die cut and I'm going to make this little slider tag. I'm using some vintage cardstock here. It kind of looks like leather. I got it at a printer's estate sale. I don't know if you can see the texture, but it's got a lot of texture to it here. That's the yellow part that I'm using. I rolled it through the Cuttlebug there. You couldn't quite see it on the tape, but that will cut it out. And then when you pull it off, you have a little ribbon slider to put the sentiment on. So I'm going to use VersaFine ink. This is the same ink that I'm going to overstamp with here on this card. And this is a stamp from Stampin' Up! Called Grateful. Save this little thing right here on your stamp pad. It helps it from getting dried out. Helps to keep it from getting dried out. Then I just stamp this sentiment right across the front. Don't worry about how it goes outside the lines because the ribbon's going to cover it up. This is sort of a burlap ribbon. It's vintage. Picked up on one of my treasure hunting trips. Just slide it through there, and then you'll have the ribbon to go across the front of your card. And I can see it's not quite dry. There's still some darker spots on this. So while we're waiting for this to dry, we can go ahead and corner punch out the corners. So EK Success punch. And just punch all four corners. This is, I think it's called a ticket punch. I always try to work in stages while things are drying to other things. So we're going to give that just a minute to dry. Okay, now it's all dry. It probably takes about 4 or 5 minutes for it to get completely dry. And here's where I want to add the detail. So I like this little detailed stamp because there's a lot of little lines in it. And we're going to use that same VersaFine ink we used for the sentiment and stamp over the top of all the bleached areas. It's not going to be exact. I just kind of eyeball it here. You don't really want it exact. You want to see that bleached out area behind it. So just stamp down over it and you can see that it's not quite on there, but it's enough to show that detail. And we're going to repeat that all the way around the card so that you can see the whole thing. And just go ahead and put the ribbon on. I like using an ATG gun for this. I think it has nice, strong adhesive to hold the ribbon down. And then I'll trim off those edges and put that on your card front. The card front onto the card base. Let me tell you that the bleach will break down over time. So the bleach that you poured out today, you can't use it another day. Ask me how I know this. I tried it. I also think full strength bleach works much better than watering it down. So I hope you'll give this bleach stamping a try. Thanks for stopping by today.